if you are an e4 player, you probably are aggressive, you love tactics and open position, and maybe you are as mad as me. So when you play a4, they play e5, you play knight f3, they play knight c6, and you play bishop c4, the Italian game. When they play knight on f6, you always try to play knight on g5, the knight attack. Now, you probably know that if they play d5, you can take the pawn, and if they take with the knight, we are in the fried liver attack with knight takes on f7. So that's why people play knight on a5 in this position, and then you give this check, you know, you follow theory, and maybe you had a position like this. And maybe at the beginning you had problem playing like this, but after some times you get comfortable with this position and you start winning a lot of games with white because you had up a pawn, despite the fact that black has more activity. Now, it's also true, though, that black decided that this position wasn't so good for him and decided to try something else. For this reason, in this position, in order to try to win more games, black play knight c5. So we are in the Traxler Counterattack. But the reality is that after you take the pawn on f7, they take this, and if you take the pawn, they take with check and you are completely lost. But if you, for example, go on f1, there is queen on e7, knight takes on h8, d4, etc, etc. And as you can see on the chess database, black obviously wins most of the times. And why? Because this is a really tricky position, and it could be that white is slightly better, but honestly, the computer doesn't understand the strength of this attack, and you need to be a defensive god in order to survive the position with white. For this reason, white, in order not to lose in this position, found another move, decided to play bishop takes on f7 with check. The king moves and probably bishop on b2. But after that, black is still winning most of the games. Why? Because despite the fact that black lost the pawn, black has quite a lot of activity. Black lost the pawn and has the king there's the king in the center, but is going to destroy you. Now you play something like d3, they play d6, for example, just following a game, short castle, h6, you have to go back, and g4. And despite that white is better, and I mean, I'm not following the best move, but you see that white is losing most of the times because this is a really tricky position, all black pieces are coming to you, and you are probably going to mess up and lose this position. And that's why I made this video. I made this video because I wanted to let you know that you can still play knight g5, because probably after this you decided to stop playing it and play something like the gioco piano and maybe the gioco pianissimo. Are you kidding me? Really? No. We are e4 player, we don't want this. We don't want solid games, we want to win tactical games. So we can still play knight on g5. After this move, you can still play this pawn, you can still take this pawn, is the way to win. But now you can play 3 moves. Bishop on d5, bishop on c4, and bishop on b3. The move I'm going to suggest you, this broken line, is with bishop on c4. And why is bishop on c4 that strong? Well, bishop on c4 is better than bishop on b3 and bishop on d5 for 2 reasons. First of all, the bishop on b5 just blocks the square for other pieces because there is a bishop, so you can play knight c3 and knight c5, which is a strong move. And the difference with bishop on d3 is that in a lot of position, the light square bishop of black is going to pin your knight on g4, and you have a knight on f3. But with bishop on c4, you can actually play bishop on e2. So I'm pinning your knight, and this move is a savior move, is a really good move, is a solid move, and it will allow you to be up a pawn in every single line and be also solid. So what can black play now in this position? Well, as you can see, we are threatening a fork, so he kinda has two moves, rook on f8 or queen on e8. There is another move that I'm going to show you really quickly. There is d5. d5 is wrong, and as you can see, the bar is going up, is +3. Why? Because we can take this pawn. Now the most played move is knight takes pawn. The best move, according to the computer, is playing b5. If they play b5, you take the pawn, knight attack the bishop, you defend the bishop with the knight. I'm just going to let you see this. We are just going to see this really quickly because no one is going to play this, but you never know. So knight on c3 defending the bishop, we are still up 2 pawns. Knight take back. Queen takes our pawn and we castle because the queen is threatening the g2 pawn. This is not a good tactic now, because if they take, we take back. They take our knight, and after that b3, and as you can see there is a lot of pressure on the king and we are going to win really fast. It's +6. So you can't play that. The best move is try to mate us with bishop on b7, queen on f3, and trade everything. They trade everything, and as you can see we reach this position, is still +3. Yeah, our strategy is ruined, but we are up 2 pawns. So I think we can stop there, and obviously in every variation I'm not going to let you see a 25 move line. I just want to let you see an opening line in which you are going to be better in the middle game, and I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to show you the middle game ideas or whatsoever, but I'm just going to show you that you can be much better and you can have a solid position being up a pawn. This time you're going to be up 2 pawns though. So b5 is not such a good line, but the most played move, which is not the best, is knight take on d5, and now is +5. It's +5, but it's not easy to understand why. Now we castle. It's +5 because the king is on the center and we are going to have a lot of activity. Now I'm going to play the best moves. h6 and d4. You can't really take with the pawn because otherwise, as you can see, it's +10. You are opening every piece I have and you're going to lose really fast. Also, remember that you can't take this knight because after I take with the bishop, you are going to lose the queen. You can block with the knight, but you're going to lose the knight. In that case, you're going to get destroyed. You can't really take this knight. If you take with the knight, still rook on e1 is really strong because now this pawn is undefended. It was defended by the knight on c6. The best move is to take with the bishop. They take with the bishop and we play queen on f3. Queen on f3 is really strong move because we are threatening to get on f7, and if the knight moves, we are threatening to get on f7 with the knight. So for example, if he plays a move like this, because also remember that we are threatening to take the knight, we have the fork. So what he should play is rook on f8, is rook on f8, we take the knight, queen takes back, we take the queen, they take our piece, the bishop goes somewhere else, we are gaining space, and now we can take this pawn. They attack us, but after bishop on f3, you see that first of all we are up a pawn, second is +5, why? Because the king is on the middle, our position is rock solid, we have the couple of bishop and our pieces are ready to destroy his king, as you can see. So d5 is quite a bad move. So going back, they can play rook on f8 or queen on e8. The last time I show you what happens after rook on f8. In this video I'm going to show you what happens in this line of the Traxler counterattack if they play queen on e8 instead of rook on f8. So they play queen on e8. Remember, also for the rook on f8 line, always play c3, never play castle first, always play knight on c3. because if you play castle first, you need to play something else sometimes because they have queen on g4. If they play queen on g4 now, it's different because, and it's a thing I'm going to show you that now, if they play queen g4 now, thanks to knight on c3, this is lost. If you castle now, they can still play this line, and you have to play something different, which is more difficult to play for white. So you play knight c3, they play queen g6, and you play d4. What this move does? Well, if you take with the pawn, for example, I have bishop on f7, and as you can see, the queen is tapped. Yeah, the queen is tapped. I have knight on d5 check, knight takes, I take back, knight on e5 is the best move, but after that I have knight on e6, queen on f6 is the best move, but now bishop on g5 is +7, and as you can see is a bit lost. So you shouldn't take with the pawn, and if they take with the knight, we can go with bishop on f7, queen on h6, and we have knight on h3 now. We're attacking the queen. If the queen tries to run somewhere, we have g5, and this is defended, and the queen is lost. Take, GG. So bishop takes on d4 is the best move, because after bishop on f7, remember we always want to play bishop on f7 to tap the queen. We don't have knight on h3 because the queen can actually run. Can go on g4, because if we play with a move like this, they take with check, and now this pawn is hanging with check, because the knight was defending it. That's the difference. So for this reason, we are going to play h4. h4, bishop takes, always the same stuff, remember, because we were threatening to tap the queen. And d6, h5, now we can tap the queen, because the pawn is defended. Bishop g4 attacking the queen, f3, bishop takes the pawn, we can take it, knight takes, g4, and GG, you lost a piece. So queen g6 does not work, and I think is a move that a lot of people are going to play. If you play queen on e8, you have to be really careful when you play it. If they play d6, which is not the best move is h6. If they play d6, remember what I said you in the previous video. If they haven't played h6, the knight on d5 check is better. If they already played h6 and I have a knight on f3, bishop on e2 is the better move. So my knight is still on g5, so knight check. Knight takes, I take, the knight has to move, but before that there is queen g6. Now we take the knight, the queen takes back, and we castle because it's threatening a lot of nasty things. Now we are threatening d4, so we can't take back because otherwise he's going to lose a bishop. He takes d4, GG. He has to move the queen somewhere, and we play g3. Queen takes, and there is this beautiful bishop check. King on d7, queen on e2. Queen on e2 threatening rook on d1, e4. Queen g4 now because the queen is not defending it. King e8, bishop on e6. You can't really take it because otherwise you get mated. e3. We take the bishop. We played everything, and as you can see, we won a piece. And if he moves the king in this position, there is just knight takes, he's going to take back, and there is the fork. So in this position, he shouldn't really play d6. If you play with black this position, you never want the white knight on g5. You want to play h6 before doing anything else. I mean, before you play rook on e8 or queen on e8, but after that you play h6, always. Knight come back to f3, and they're going to play d6. If they play queen g6 now, we can just castle, and after king d8, we have knight on a4, which is really annoying. They have to go back, and we can play d3. We are rock solid. Our knight is really strong. So queen on g6 is never a good move thanks to knight on c3. So d6 is the best move, and obviously now we just want to castle, and we are transposing in the line that I showed you in the previous video. Well, it's the same line, but there is not rook on f8, so it's kind of the same line. If they try to attack our knight, always bishop on e2, remember, it's so good. If they play something like queen on g4, there is knight on h4, Queen on h7 is the best move, and after that there is 95 check. King moves because otherwise there are all the checks with the king. Knight takes, they take back, and queen f3, queen infiltration, we win GG. This square is really good for the knight now, and we are winning. Don't worry that we are winning. If they play rook on f8 with transpose in the position I showed you in the previous video, and as I said, if they play h6, the best move is not to play knight on d5 check, even though it's good. You should play bishop on e2, because now you're rock solid. If they play something stupid like this, you just play d3 now, and you are more than fine. You don't play knight on h4 in a position like this, because of all the pressure that there is on the f2 pawn, if there is a queen on a rook on f8. So they play this d3, and we are completely safe. The best move is a5, but let's say they try to play something logical like this. Now we actually play knight on h4. We saw what happens after queen g6, we saw what happens after d6, and we saw what happens after h6. That means only one thing, that I show you all the lines in this variation, and this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was helpful. This has been a really long video, like recording for 2 hours, and I decided to divide it in 2 parts. And this video takes me quite a lot of time and energy, so please consider subscribing, and see you to the next video.